Appreciate everybody being here. What you see in front of you, hopefully it will continue to stand. Some people would say that there are times when this whole list of all the administrative rules in the state of Ohio combines to really create another tower, a modern Tower of Babel. A lot of business people have a difficult time trying to sort through all these rules and all these regulations that exist in Ohio that make it difficult for businesses to be able to be successful. I'm joined obviously by Mary Taylor and also by Jim Zehringer, a member of the House, a small business person himself involved in agriculture most of his life, and of course you all know Keith Faber, who headed up the commission to study regulatory abuse in the state of Ohio. So we've been focused on this. I mean, a lot of people were surprised when we brought Jobs Ohio out. It isn't something that we put together overnight. This regulatory review that we're going to undertake here is not something that we thought about overnight either. We know that regulations are capable of killing people's jobs. There isn't any question about it. And but I have to tell you, I was over in Zanesville the other day, and I was meeting with a group of small business people. There were probably 15 or 20 small business people there, and there was a nice couple there, and they were, I'd say, beyond frustration. They are in the mobile home business, and they had gotten a mobile home delivered to them from Indiana, and they were moving a mobile home down I-70 from Zanesville to Belmont County, and they had to stop at a way station. Now they had a permit. They had a permit to move this mobile home that was 14 feet wide. But when they got to the way station, an inspector came out and said, "Wait a minute. This mobile home is 14 foot and 1 inch. You're not allowed to move this thing." Honest to goodness. They made them park it. They gave them a fine, and they made them go get another permit, so that they could now move something that was 1 inch bigger than what they had been moving. So we have the 1 inch problem here. Then at the same time, they told me that if you want to move a mobile home, for example, on a street, and you want to move it a half a block, if you are a mobile home business person, you then have to hire an escort, and you have to pay the escort for 4 hours worth of pay, even if it takes the escort 30 seconds to move the mobile home. Now that's just pure idiocy, and these folks, as a result of this, are not just frustrated about this, but it also creates a deep cynicism towards the government. And frankly, they showed up with an idea that this might be the last meeting they ever go to, because they just feel so upset about this because it affects their ability to do business. Well, there's a lot more that we can talk about. I want to talk about the Timken Company. The Timken Company was interested in installing 2 new arc furnaces. Now, Ohio regulations are sometimes tougher than federal regulations. The Timken Company was subjected to Ohio imposing a tougher regulatory standard than the federal EPA. Now, I don't know how much you know about the Timken companies, but they are a gem of manufacturing in our state. They are recognized all over this country and all over this world. Now, we should not engage ourselves in a business of making the federal laws even tougher than, or Ohio laws tougher than the federal laws, particularly if you want to impose restrictions on the Timken Company, which can be, frankly, the tip of the spear for being able to drive more manufacturing here in the state of Ohio. Sometimes Ohio regulatory agencies don't know what the left and the right hand is doing. At the Horde Livestock in Bucyrus, they raise feeder pigs. They asked the EPA what they're supposed to do with wastewater from cleaning their trailers. They were told, put in a septic system. They did it. They operated with a septic system for 8 years. Another division of the EPA came out and said, no, you now need a Class 5 injection well permit. That sounds pretty serious to me. They came in and they testified before Senator Faber's committee. I guess the bureaucrats over at the EPA got together and realized they were looking like pretty silly. They then reversed their decision and let this company keep the septic system instead of driving them towards this this Class 5 injection well permit. It's a lack of common sense and an inability of one hand to know what the other hand is doing. From the Ohio Chamber of Commerce, I learned of an example, and this happens all the time, of a business owner who was once fined $50 for making a 25-cent mistake on their tax filing. Now, I don't know if any of you ever were in the situation where you ended up getting somebody writing to you from government spending more on the stamp than what you owe. Now, that is bureaucratese, if I've ever heard of anything. So you give a guy who's a business person a $50 fine for a 25-cent tax filing error. And think of the amount of time that was put in licking the envelope, putting the stamp on, sending it out, monitoring the whole thing. It not only frustrates, but over the long haul, it creates an environment in our state and gives us a reputation of not being business friendly. Ohio's cumbersome permitting process often costs us jobs. Molded fiberglass in Ashtabula. I've been up to Ashtabula a number of times. It was up in Ashtabula where I had a young lady walk up to me. She sells eggs. And she said to me, "Sir, please don't tax my chickens." This is not a place where people have a lot. It's a place where people struggle to be able to create a decent economy to provide jobs for their folks. Well, Molded Fiberglass in Ashtabula is a leading manufacturer of windmill blades, and they recently opened a new facility in South Dakota. Two reasons. One, they're closer to their customer. That makes sense, and probably the biggest reason. But the second reason is the permitting process, because it can take you in the state of Ohio. Let me give you the numbers on this. The permitting process, it can take 9 to 12 months for a permit to install, and then 9 to 12 months for a permit to operate. Nobody's got 2 years to wait around with capital that they have invested or capital that they've borrowed, waiting for somebody to say it's okay. We have a series of complaints from home builders trying to deal with problems in wetland areas. It takes them forever to be able to get a simple answer to what their problems are. You know, I can just tell you that when you make it difficult for people to do business, and you get out there and you talk to the small business community, and they will tell you this is a Tower of Babel at times, and it undermines their ability to be successful, and most important, it creates a bad atmosphere and a bad reputation for the state of Ohio. Nobody understands these problems because no one's investigated them more thoroughly than Keith Faber with the Bipartisan Committee on Regulatory Reform. So at this moment, at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Senator Faber.